Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady and principal owner of Everett Tax Solutions, where we help you win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, and when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the small business community. And today I want to talk about setting client expectations. I've been perusing these social media streets, and it seems like there is a huge issue with dissatisfied customers, and this is coming from the standpoint of the business owner. And a lot of times some of those things can be mitigated simply by setting the customer expectation. And if you do these things up front, then it helps to mitigate disagreements down the road. It also helps to mitigate people, not paying you for your services. And this is really huge in the service-based industry, but also, for my peeps in the tax profession, we had a lot of discussion going on because a lot of times, tax professionals do work and wind up not getting paid, which is just uncool on so many levels. Okay. So that's why I want to talk about setting your clients' expectations, because not only is that going to help you, but it's also going to help improve your customer experience because they already know what to expect up front. So tip number one is to have that initial client meeting, whether you call it a discovery call or even not just the discovery call, but if that person becomes a client, that onboarding meeting call, whatever you want to do. But you want to meet with the client. And the reason that you want to do that is because you want to know exactly what the client's goals are. What is it that they are looking to achieve? And based on what they tell you, you may or may not be the person to help them. So you really need to understand exactly what the client is looking for and what they are expecting from you. And then from that, you can then set clear guidelines about how you are going to fill that customer's need, and look at, what is that clear deliverable? What is that clear, measurable item that you are going to deliver to your client, whether it is a certain hairstyle, if it's a completed tax return or whatever that is, set that clear deliverable. All right. But the way that you get there is by first really meeting with your client and having a clear understanding of what your client goals are. Number two is set the expectation for communication. I was in one of the business groups, and there was a story about a lady whose client was expecting more access to her because of the amount of the fee that the client paid. And the business owner wound up refunding her money because what the customer was expecting, she was not willing to deliver. So she refunded the customer's money, and the customer really wasn't expecting that, right? But I wonder if that could have been mitigated by setting clear boundaries to say, hey, these are the hours by which we communicate, right? We're open. What is that movie? My office hours are from 9 to 5, right? But if you set that expectation with your client up front that, hey, you may email us, but we will respond to you within 48 hours or 2 to 3 business days, right? Because a lot of times in this world of instantaneous stuff, when a client reaches out to us, they expect us to respond like right now. And that is not always realistic. So if you set those clear communication guidelines, then your client knows up front that they may email you at 3:00 in the morning. They may email you on a Friday, but you are going to respond, between A time and B time. And so if your client knows that, then that removes any type of misunderstanding about the client feeling like, okay, they're not responding to me if you have not clearly communicated your communication guidelines, then you both have two different ideas of what's going on, and you all need to be on the same page. Okay, in all of this, put the stuff in writing, okay? I saw this saying once from some guy, and he said, a good man keeps his word, but a contract reminds him of what he said. Put the stuff in writing, right? One of the things that we are working on at Everett Tax Solutions is a welcome packet for our clients. And what that welcome packet entails is, hey, welcome to Everett Tax Solutions. Here's how you can expect us to do business. Right? It will clearly communicate what our operating hours are, how we will communicate with the client, what the client can expect from us, what we expect from the client. So at the end of all of that packet, the client has an understanding, again, of how you're going to do business. And we're talking about everything from the working hours, the best way to communicate with us, so that, if the client has any questions about what's going on, they can go to that welcome packet and say, okay, Lysandra said that they will respond between X time and Z time. Okay, now then if I don't meet what I said, then the client can hold me accountable, right? And listen, when we also set those expectations, and all that communication, you also have to communicate failures, right? We are all going to have service failures. Can we accept that? We will have a service failure at some time. But if you communicate that to your client ahead of time, to say, hey, originally we said we would be done with your tax return by Tuesday. Well, that's not going to happen. Here's why. Now, you give the client at that point an opportunity. The opportunity to say, you know what, I really need to go somewhere else because I really need this done. Or the client says, okay, that's great. Let me make adjustments on my end. No problem, right? But if you never communicate that pending service failure, then, you leave the client wondering what's going on. Then they're wondering about whether or not you are actually a good service provider. So we will all have service failures. I don't care who you are. I don't care the best in the business. You will have service failures. But how you communicate and mitigate those service failures is totally within your control. Okay? And that's all about the communication. So, be open and be honest about that. One of the things that happened during this tax season at Everett Tax Solutions is we were inundated with emails. I was just in a meeting yesterday and I talked about how there are still 1,000 emails that I did not get to from tax season. I wish I could tell you that it was one email from 1,000 clients, but it wasn't. There were tons and tons of emails because there were tons and tons of questions about all of the tax law changes that were happening, how it applied to this person, how it applied to that person. Should I take the advanced tax credit? I didn't get my stimulus payment. Where's my refund? All of those things. And so it was a hot, ridiculous mess. And we just couldn't keep up with them all. Plain and simple. But one of the things that we did do is looked at, okay, here's the lesson. If we get inundated with emails, how are we going to deal with it? So I wound up going into an entirely different system that's going to help us become more organized so that if we do get that 1,000 emails, we know exactly which one of our clients has reached out to us and how to respond to that and not lose track of email. Because let me tell you, if anything failed during this tax season, it was email. I had clients emailing me. Emails went to spam. I was emailing clients. My emails went to spam. So it got to be a point where clients were emailing me and they're, reaching out. Hey, did you get my email? And I'm sitting here going, what email are you talking about? And I'm calling my clients. Did you get my email? And they're like, what email are you talking about? And it's all sitting in spam. And so I had to make an adjustment so that in the coming year, it should the exact same thing happen, which we are totally expecting, then I already have something in place to help mitigate the lost email issue, right? But you know what? But I had to communicate that failure to my client base to say, hey, we are inundated with these emails and the email communication is completely getting lost, but here's what we're doing about it so that it doesn't happen in the future. So it's not just that we communicated what the problem is, we also provided the solution. Like, here's, this is what's going to happen in order for this to be better going forward. So, in the growing pains of business, how you do business today isn't necessarily going to work tomorrow. But again, it's all about that communication with your client. Did I have some upset clients? Absolutely. However, once I was able to communicate the problem and also communicate the solution, everybody's happy again. Okay? So just know that in all aspects of business, you're going to have those pains, but it's your job as the business owner to, find the solution and then communicate that solution to your client base. And that's only going to, again, help set the expectation. Also, think like your client, right? Think about and go through your own customer experience. Go through your own onboarding process. Find the holes. And if you do that and you're thinking like your client, you have to ask yourself, if I was this client, what would I want? And when you answer that question, then you're better able to create a better customer experience, but you can also, again, set those expectations to say, yeah, I realize you do want an email back within 30 minutes or all of that stuff, but that's just not possible, and here's why. So you've got to think like your customer, go through your own customer experience and say to yourself, if nobody ever told me, what's going on with my order, with my product, and I never heard anyone, all you did was take my money, how am I going to feel? And if your customer feels like you're not paying attention to them, then they're going to take their business elsewhere. And lastly, don't be afraid to get rid of a terrible customer. We are living in an age right now where people don't respect boundaries. During the tax season, we had tales of clients showing up at tax professionals' homes, like looking them up on the internet and showing up at their houses because the tax professional wasn't doing what the client thought they should be doing. We see it on the news where customers are just losing their minds because they don't want to follow the rules of the store. Those things are bound to happen. And as the business owner, you have to be okay with letting go of the wrong client. A client that does not respect your boundaries, a client that does not accept your expectations when you have clearly communicated your expectations and you are abiding by those things. If you have a client that doesn't want to abide by that, you have to be willing to let that client go, because peace of mind is priceless. And not all money is good money. I don't care if you're just starting in business or if you've been in business for 10 years. Not all money is good money. And if you have a client that essentially wants to tell you how you're going to run your business, and that's just unacceptable, right? Because every client has something that they want done particularly for them, and that does not work. We already know that systems in business work. That's why McDonald's has been as successful as they are. It's not like the food is that great, but their system is fabulous. Chick-fil-A is another one, right? They have systems in place for everything. And that's what makes a business run efficiently. And that's what you have to do. Even getting started at your kitchen table, you're a solopreneur. You have to have systems in place so that the customer experience can be duplicated over and over again. And if you can't duplicate that customer experience, then you're going to have all kinds of people with all kinds of different expectations, and it will run you crazy as a business owner. So if you don't have systems in place, if you don't have procedures in place, you may not have even thought about procedures. And usually as solopreneurs, we don't think about written processes and procedures for dealing with our clients. That has to change. If you start that at the beginning, then once you grow, it's just an adjustment to the system. And I wish somebody had told me that like 5 years ago, right? I wish somebody had told me that, but I've had to learn. And so that's really the catalyst for this video, is really sit down and think about how you will deliver your customer experience and be honest. Okay. If you're not going to answer emails or text messages or Facebook messages, be clear and say, this is how you communicate with us. And anything outside of that is unacceptable. And that's okay. So be very realistic and be very honest and be very transparent with your clients. And they're either going to love you and do business with you, or they're going to go elsewhere. Both are absolutely fine. Okay, so I know this one went kind of long, and I have no idea how many tips I shared. I just spoke what was on my heart. Y'all know how I do. All right. But I really hope that helps you in your business development, in your business growth, to really start to think about how you're doing business and how you can systematize that business so that you can duplicate that customer experience and also maintain your peace of mind. Because this entrepreneurship thing is awesome, but it will run you bananas. So your systems have to work for one person and also for 1,000 people. And if it works for one and it works for 1,000, then you've got a great system. All right. So set those client expectations. Be okay if someone says, I don't want to do business with you. That's not a problem, because if you're doing business with the wrong person, then you don't have room for the right people. The wrong person is the one that does not accept your expectations and does not respect your boundaries. That is not the right client for you. Okay, so I hope that helps you out. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk, and I will see you all next time. Bye.